New Zealand. Let's go.
The undisputed.
Coming up, we recap all the action and that eye poke from UFC 321. A star is born. Quillin Salkild joins the show after victory in Abu Dhabi.
My foot's a bit busted up after that kick.
And we sit down for an unfiltered chat with Dan Hooker ahead of his next fight in November.
I've been doing this my entire adult life. I love it out there. It's easy for me. To me, fighting is easy.
Kia rite mai.
Into the Etihad Arena, Tom Aspinall, the first defense of his undisputed UFC heavyweight championship, and it comes against a man with whom he thought for sure he would share the octagon at some point. The former interim champion, Cyril Gane, fighting out of Perth, Western Australia, Quillin Salkild. His parents put him in training because he was overweight, but they own a bakery.
Shin to temple. Oh my God. He absolutely chalked Nasrat Haqparast.
I'm just happy to be here. 10 days notice, 13 kilo cut, wicked opponent, big step up for me. United centered.
As soon as he starts looking behind the knee of one leg right there. He's going for it again, guys.
Continues his assault on the record books.
That is crazy that keeps happening.
Apparently Tom's saying that he can't see. That's not a good look, pardon the pun. That's it. The fight's been called off. Everyone's pissed off, the crowd's booing, obviously that's a terrible shame. Oh man, what an anticlimax. But they got to run it back. They got to run it back ASAP.
Wrapped up in the most disappointing, unceremonious way possible. Referee Jason Herzog declaring that the fight would end in a no contest due to an unintentional foul. The two fingernails are all the way into both of Tom Aspinall's eyes. The moment he faces adversity, the people are saying he quote unquote quit. Complete hogwash, complete nonsense. Those were two nasty, deep eye pokes. I do not think that they were intentional. Like, how could we sit here and fault Tom Aspinall for not continuing?
Oh, oh. Let's see the replay.
I mean, I feel the way everybody feels. Great showing, shitty ending, you know?
It would seem obvious that a rematch is right on the cards. Would you like to just rebook these guys as soon as Tom is able to get back in there?
Yeah, total pain in the ass, but yes.
Kia ora e te iwi no mai hara mai ki UFC on Sky ko Ravinda huni a tōku ingoa. Welcome to the show, whānau. Joining me, as always, Dan Hooker. Kia ora e hoa.
Kia ora.
Look, the countdown continues. We've got UFC 321 up here, but I have been following you around at the gym the last couple of weeks, trying to build up to your fight. Now, you only got 4 weeks to go.
Yeah, 3.5 weeks, so it'll come around quick. I'm sick of training. Got no time for a haircut. I look like a homeless person, but it's coming time. I like to get real homeless right up until that last week. So when you like finally get a haircut and you put some nice clothes on, then you feel like the man. You feel like $1 million. But we're in home. We've got, I reckon, 2 more weeks of homeless Dan.
Homeless Dan, okay. Well, homeless Dan, look, what does the plan look like from here on in? As you just mentioned, 3.5 weeks to go. You know, when do you fly out? Are you taking more time than usual to set in at Qatar, you know, a new place, etc.?
Going a week out. So the fight's on Sunday. I leave the Sunday before, so I'll finish my last hard workout here Sunday morning and then chill out and then get on the plane Sunday night. So you'll get there, what do you arrive like Monday? Yeah, it's like 5 days before. That's enough time. You know what I mean? I'm not one of those people, one of those fighters that stresses. Like traveling something I've done 1 million times. I've gone to London. I've traveled the whole way around the world, let alone half the way around the world. There's a direct flight, 17 hours. I just don't care about any of that sort of stuff. If you time difference, I couldn't care less. If you knock me on the noggin at 2 o'clock in the morning and Arman Sarukian's standing there, like, I will fight. Like, it's not something I have to stress about. If you put us in a sauna, I will fight him. If you put us in Antarctica, I will still wake up and fight him. All of that stuff, yeah, it's just outside noise. It's outside noise. I'm sure that's more than enough time to be feeling good by the fight.
Yeah. And look, 3rd headline act for you in your career? Correct. Does it change up compared to being on a card as opposed to being a main event?
Definitely like a bit more weight to carry. There's definitely more like media obligations and stuff like that. Fight week, you know, everyone's waiting on you. So it is cool, but there's definitely more obligations. Like I had ESPN out this week, follow me around for a couple of days. And yeah, it was funny as I was just trolling them the whole time. You know, you guys know me. They're like, so what are you doing today? I was like, lawns are a mess. I made them just come around home with me and help me mow the lawns. Yeah. I was just roasting them.
But do you enjoy it, or more so, are you used to it now?
I'd say you just get used to it, and it's part. You want to be the headline act, you want to be the champion, you want to be. These are just the things that you have to learn to adjust and learn to deal with. I think just more, it's a lot easier if you are who you are, and you're not having to put on like an act or a show. Like I didn't even know that the UFC cameras were coming. You know, they just followed my normal. They just followed my normal day-to-day stuff. I answered the questions without thinking, as usual. So there was some audacious trash talk for the pre-fight. You know the one
cutting room floor, mate.
You know the interview they play right before the fight. Yep. I was spinning some yarns. I said, hey, you got to wait up for this one. I don't want to ruin. Can you ruin the thing? I said it's going to be the first decapitation in UFC history. I was like, because they're like, how's the fight going to end? I was like, I'm going to kick his head so hard it comes off his shoulders completely. First decapitation in UFC history, November 22nd. Do not, but I love that kind of stuff. Like,
on this show, that's the promo. But on ESPN,
on ESPN.
a different story.
Too much cheese, extra cheese on ESPN.
You got to have a little cheese, but, you know, there is a fine line between cheese and getting someone's authenticity through on an interview, surely.
Yeah, they're just like, so describe how hard this was. Describe how much of a battle it is to feed your family and provide for them. I was like, Zoe Hooker bought a Nintendo Switch 2 yesterday.
You mean YouTube sensation Zoe Hooker?
I was like, that kid's not starving to death. You know what I mean? If I was out here fighting for milk and bread money, I'd get a real job. Like, so just completely not giving them the answers that they wanted.
In true Dan Hooker style, I must say.
Do with it as you may.
Well, can't wait to see what they manage to get.
I can't wait to see how that turns
They'll
out.
work their magic. Okay, well, speaking of the fights, we did have UFC 321 over the weekend, Dan, and she was an early rise for this one, 7 a.m. for UFC 321, and it was, what's the word? Anticlimactic, perhaps?
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. Anticlimactic. Obviously ends in an eye poke. Unfortunate ending, and then now the argument becomes everyone's talking about all week, like change. It's on repeat. Like change the gloves, bigger penalties for eye pokes. The penalty is the penalty. Aspinall walks away with the belt. He's still the champion. Gane misses out on the belt, so I feel like he has been penalised. But eye pokes are something that are just going to be, they're just part of the sport. Like, obviously, boxers have their hands open inside of their gloves a lot of the time to parry punches, to frame off. Like, their hands are open, but their fingers are just not exposed. But we have to be able to grapple. We have to be able to grab each other. We have to be able to work our submission game and be able to get body locks. So I don't think you can't change the gloves. The fingers have to be free. They've obviously changed it. You know, you can't do this and that. But it's just a very unfortunate ending. But there's nothing you can do about it.
No, there isn't. And I so, you know, and that is one of the disappointments that came out of it. The other, of course, when we spoke to Gane and Aspinall on the show last week, they spoke about this card really representing, you know, this revival of the heavyweight division. There were 4 heavyweight fights on this card. Only one of those fights were finished. And when people see heavyweight fighters, they want those finishes. They want those big blows on the card. So I think there were a couple of blows in terms of people's disappointment.
Well, it's funny, I bumped into Hunter Campbell, who's the matchmaker for the UFC at UFC Perth, and he was like, man, I've been watching the 1 minute scraps. He said we need some of those heavyweights for the UFC, chuck them in. I said, mate, if I could get them out of the country, you can have them.
Well, alternatively, Haramai, come to New Zealand and
hey, I'll stack the whole thing. Let me match a UFC card.
How quickly are you filling cards?
In a couple
of
hours. Yeah, a few hours.
Be the Hunter Campbell, Dan Hooker show. But yeah, when we look at the heavyweight division, it's kind of disappointing in that aspect because this was that kind of resurgence for the heavyweight division. But your thoughts on a rematch between these two? It seems like perhaps that's the only logical path.
They have to rematch. It'll be in a couple of months, you know, once Tom, you know, it was such a terrible eye poke. It was horrible. I was watching the video. If you haven't seen the video, he's got like both fingers went in the eye, but one's sticking
like up to the knuckle.
Yeah, but I only was looking at the one eye, and I was like, oh, that's not bad. And then I looked over at the other eye, and it's knuckle deep in the back of his brain stem. So bad, like no skin off Aspinall, man. Like that's fight changing for sure. To kind of brush that off, if you can't see, it's there's no way you're going to deal with that.
Yeah, Dana White obviously expressed his disappointment in that outcome as well, as we already saw in the reactions at the top of the show. But watch this space, and hopefully the heavyweights don't lose that momentum, and we see, you know, plenty more heavyweight fights coming through in cards to come. Look, speaking of 3-2-1, Dan, over to the lightweight division, your division obviously. Quillin Salkild and his knockout finish over Nasrat Haqparast, making just an absolute name for himself now in the UFC. I wanted your thoughts on the man from Perth.
Yeah, oh man, Nasrat's one of those guys that's just outside the rankings. He's perpetually like a bit of a gatekeeper of the rankings, if you would. Like, if you get past him, you find yourself in the rankings. So to do that on 10 days notice, he took the fight, flew all that way. Incredible performance, knocking out a guy like that. Best finish on the card, hands down. Wasn't that hard to beat anyway, but hands down, he should have got 3 bonuses. He should have got all the bonuses for that knockout. But incredible. Man, there's no going back from here. He's going to find himself, not if in the rankings, definitely fighting as a ranking eliminator in his next fight.
And I think he's kind of woken some people up as to who he is. As you know, third fight in the UFC. He's had 2 fight bonuses, 2 big finishes in the UFC so far. And he jumps on the Ariel Helwani show and calls out Moicano today. He wants to go for the big dog. So your thoughts on that matchup?
Perfect fight. Risky fight for Moicano to fight. A guy so fresh to the UFC, young, out there killing everyone. Big step up in competition. They're very different fighters, Nasrat and Moicano. But big call out. There's no going back from here. He's put himself on the radar. He's put himself in the lightweight division. Once you're on the radar, there's no getting off it. Like it's such a stacked division. He's going to be fighting killers for the rest of his career.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we kind of saw this with Steve Erceg when he came on the scene in the flyweight division. But my goodness, what is brewing over there in Perth? Steve Erceg, Quillin Salkild, Jack Della Maddalena, obviously going to be featuring UFC 322 next month. 3 guys from Perth, 3 different gyms. They're really producing them at the moment.
Yeah, it's just when you find a market that's like untapped. There's obviously MMA has been huge in Perth for the longest time. They've developed a lot of skilled fighters, but their fighters just haven't had that exposure. But since the UFC has been going over to Perth, kind of shines a light on it, and that first wave of Perth fighters just couldn't have done any better. They're looking incredible. It just comes down to having the ability to keep building those talented fighters and keep that going, so that it's not just like one wave and then gone. But I feel like they're in safe hands. There's some incredible coaches over that side.
Absolutely. And a couple of weeks ago, we had a chat with Jack Della Maddalena. We saw that gym nice and full. We even saw Tai Tuivasa making a little appearance there as well. But for Quillin Salkild, he's fresh off the plane, back in Perth, and we got to catch up with him. Well, Whānau, joining us back on UFC on Sky, fresh off of that amazing win at UFC 321, is Perth's own Quillin Salkild. Quillin, welcome back and congratulations.
Thanks for having me back, and thank you very much.
Look, are you still floating on cloud 9, bro? I mean, it's later on in the week now. Are you still up there, or you come back down to earth now?
I've come back down now. I think I've crashed a bit. I've been sleeping a hell of a lot. Yeah, there's been a few nights where I couldn't even sleep, and I was just staying up, just buzzing, and things have settled down now. So it's good to be back home and kicked back, just relaxing and yeah, just waiting for my foot's a bit busted up after that kick. It was a good one, so I think it did a little bit of damage, and yeah, we're going to get that scanned and see what the damage is, and that's it. Just wait for it to heal and get stuck back into it.
Was that just a reflection of how hard that melon was that you kicked, or?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think I've kicked anything that hard ever before. Like not even the bag at the gym. Yeah, it was a solid one. I felt it straight away. As soon as the fight ended, I felt my foot, aching a bit. So
looking at that in the way in which you finished that fight, was that the plan going into that fight to look for that, or was that all intuition on your part?
Yeah, definitely part of the game plan. You see, early on in the fight, I started throwing, kicks to the body, teeps to the body, round kicks to the body, kicks to the leg, and it was obviously the first one that I threw up high, caught him off guard. He anticipated a kick lower to the body, and it just, which created, an opening towards the head. And yeah, the first one that I threw up high landed flush. Southpaw versus orthodox, tend to be successful when you spam that the back leg, especially with his boxing prowess. I didn't want to, get caught up in too many exchanges early on, especially with his hand speed. He comes out and he's quite fast early on. I was, looking for the takedown. I was hoping for a couple of grappling exchanges to kind of slow him down, to make the speed gap on the feet more even, and just spam and send that back leg right at him all night long. But fortunately, it was early on where that one connected flush.
Look, what were you feeling like walking out to that fight? You've spoken about it now. Well, the day's actually getting smaller and smaller. It was started at 12 days. It's coming down to 10 days notice now.
Yeah.
But, being there on the night, being the card that it was over in Abu Dhabi, how were you feeling before you walked out and then jumping into the cage?
Yeah. I felt really calm actually. Like the day of, I was super nervous all day. Like I was just like in my own little, box, bit closed off, bit quiet. I was like super nervous, more nervous than usual actually, which I thought at the time was like, understandable. This is, huge fight. When I rocked up to the venue, I started to calm down. Actually watching the fights at the back actually calmed me down. I was watching the Nathaniel Wood fight, and then like the Klein and Rebecca fight, and they were like absolute bangers. And I was watching that, and I was like getting in the zone, like, yeah, I want to have a fight like this. Like this is cool, and actually calmed me down watching those fights leading up. And then walking out. I always love the walkout, seeing the crowd, which is why I love fighting on these big pay-per-view events, because the crowd really gets me going, and I love that aspect of it. And walking out, it's all fun and games when it's the walkout time. And I felt real calm.
Yeah, well, you looked calm. You looked, ready to go. You didn't look like you were there on, 11 days notice for sure. You looked, more than capable and fit, ready to go, not too depleted and all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
I was talking to Dan Hooker about this performance. Obviously, he faced Nasrat, I think it was 2021, and he said that, getting a win over Nasrat, he's like the gatekeeper of the lightweight division. And if you get through him, you're looking at ranked opponents. So he was absolutely impressed with your performance as well. And, just another one for the Anzacs as well. In general, how proud did you feel to be able to turn that around? Like, that's quite the adversity early on in your UFC career.
Yeah, these are the moments I'm looking to have, which is why, I took the fight. Like, I knew all about, Nasrat's, accolades, and I wanted to do something special. And, I got to do it. Dan actually sent me a message after the fight congratulating me, and that made me feel good. And I was actually watching Dan's fight with him, and I planned on having like a similar approach, where I tried to. The plan was to, obviously mix in the grappling and then keep him on the back foot. Like, see, Dan pushed him, was pretty much the aggressor, and made Nasrat, move on the back foot, and pretty much unloaded combos on the back against the cage. And Dan just pretty much smothered him, and which I planned to do. I was like, I'm going to just copy and paste. But unfortunately for me, you didn't have to go that long to start doing that.
And now the name Renato Moicano is floating around after one of your other interviews. Dan's given that fight the seal of approval as well. He's saying, yep, please do that.
Yeah.
So how serious are you about taking on Renato Moicano? Because that would be an excellent fight.
Yeah. I just seen someone actually messaged me saying you should call out Moicano next, because apparently he was saying that he thought that Nasrat was going to win, and he thought that Nasrat would call him out and he would accept the call out. So they were saying, when you win, you call him out to like kind of, just like swap places. So I thought, that's very fitting. I'll do that. So definitely, Moicano I'd like to face next. Big name, ranked. I'm all for it. I'm hoping they'll jump the gun on me and chuck me in there.
We've seen crazier things in the past, bro. Honestly,
Exactly,
when I think about what they did with Steve Erceg, obviously Steve pretty well. You're both from Perth. He
chuck me in UFC. Go on, let's go. Chuck me in there.
Yeah, he went to a title fight.
Run me in there.
But I mean, in the bigger scheme of things, bro, like what you achieved over the weekend, like Nasrat's had 10 wins in the UFC, and 5 of them was his streak leading into your fight, and you stopped that. Veteran of the sport. You've come in on, these 11 days, 10 days notice.
It'll keep getting shorter. It'll be 9 next.
Oh, you're on a 10-fight win streak yourself, pro fights. But has that part sunken in about, how big of a deal this win actually was in the style that you did it?
Yeah, like it was mainly in the style that I did it. Like I was not surprised that I, obviously that I like beat Nasrat. Like I back myself against anyone. Full confidence leading into the fight. Just the way and how spectacular the actual finish was the only bit was like, oh damn, like that's that's a bit more than I expected, to be honest. You know, just over the moon and just ready to, you know, face the next, you know, up echelon of the division.
Yeah, you keep tooting that horn, mate, because honestly, even what you did on that card, like no other fight was really worth talking about, just for the simple way in which you know, the fashion of that fight. I couldn't be more proud of you, mate. Like even here in New Zealand, you know, there's a lot of people talking about this fight, and they're going to talk about it for a long time to come, and it'll be the perfect build-up for your next fight to come. 2 fight bonuses in the UFC and 3 fights. What the heck?
Yeah, done well. It's been a good year.
Absolutely has. And look, for Perth in general, it's spectacular. And we know that Jack Della's coming up on UFC 322, and now we see Cody's going to be appearing on that card as well. Your thoughts on Cody and him featuring, you know, second fight into the UFC, and he's on this pay-per-view event with Jack? Yeah, Cody is going to steal the show 100%. There's no doubt about it. He's got a, you know, big name that he's up against, and I have, full confidence that he's going to, you know, walk through him. I hate sparring him. You know, he's definitely the hardest round in the gym, 100%, and I'm 2 weight classes heavier, but there's times where that does not feel like the case. It's just I'm jealous that he gets to fight on this card, actually. Like, when I heard, I was like so happy, but at the same time I was like, I want to fight. I wanted to fight on this card. Like, that's what I was kind of pushing for before, to find the MSG. Like, this is like the dream fight location, Madison Square Garden. Super pumped. I'm gonna go over to watch. You know, this is especially after getting a bonus, I can afford to just fly over and I'm just gonna watch things unfold, watch Cody do his work, and then watch Jack do his work. And, you know, I can't wait. It's gonna be a great night, not just for, you know, Perth, but for Australia in general. Amazing. I remember going over to New York when it was Izzy, Dan, and Carlos, I think, and Brad Riddell were all on that card, and now it's Perth's turn. It's Perth's turn to jump over there and take over Madison Square Garden. How good. Taken over. Look, mate, congratulations. Thank you so much for your time. Lap it up and have fun in New York. Will do. Thank you so much. Kapai, and congratulations once again to Quillin Salkild. Now we have a special feature story this week, a sit down with you. And as I was saying to you, Dan, I've never actually I've already thrown to you as being on the couch, and now I'm throwing to you on the. Look, we get the gist of what's happening here. Roll the tape. Here's Dan Hooker. First of all, Dan, you've been sitting on the sidelines for a little while now, not being able to be active within the UFC, but you've kept yourself busy. Talk to us about how this past year has been since that fight in Perth. Yeah, well, you know, new baby as well, baby Zara, so being a dad, you know, I was able to spend those early couple of months with her, which was really cool. Yeah, injuries are part and parcel of fighting, so it's not the end of the world when they happen, so it was all right. Spent a lot of time with the family. Obviously, the 1 minute scraps kind of came out of nowhere and absolutely erupted, so I've been keeping myself, maybe not out of trouble, but keeping myself busy at least. Because then an opportunity came knocking earlier this year, Justin Gaethje, fans got all fired up, but I feel like in the conversations we've had that this is the fight that you've really, really wanted. Yeah, obviously the Gaethje fight, I can see why everyone got mad excited for that fight. This is the fight I had my eyes on before that fight. I wanted Arman. I remember telling my manager that I wanted Arman. I feel like he's the best skill for skill in the division, including the champion. I feel like that's why everyone doesn't want to fight him and bringing up excuses not to fight him. But that's why I want to fight him. That's why I want to, because I want those fights that people will think you're the underdog. They think that, I like those fights where people count you out. I feel like that's where I thrive. A lot of the time you come in as an underdog and then you come in and prove yourself. Even thinking back to that Dustin Poirier fight, you didn't get the result, but it's one of the most historic fights in the lightweight division. How big was this when you were like, finally, I'm going to get this guy? Not so much like the personal back and forth. That'll all
That's like just for that, like that'll kick off. I'm gonna be honest because we're actually like speaking to the New Zealand fan base, so I feel like I can be like a bit more open and honest. But that's all part and parcel of it, is promoting the fight. We're gonna get in each other's face. We're gonna say mean things to each other at the press conference, because 99% of fans aren't gonna watch this, you know, they're not going to watch down, sit down interview and actually get to know a fighter and understand his logic and where he's coming from. They're just going to watch a 10-20 second clip of you talking smack at each other, a highlight reel of me knocking people out, and then they're going to tune in on a Sunday and watch the UFC. But that's all, like, that's exciting to me as well, like that build up. I like conflict, like I genuinely enjoy conflict. I enjoy arguing with people. I enjoy saying mean things. At the end of the day, we are going to get to punch each other in the face. But yeah, so there's like that aspect of this fight, which is exciting. But then to me, it's the technical aspect. To me, it's that Amon is the best guy. He is the best guy. This is the fight. Like, if I beat Gagey, there's still like, that's just like a fun fight. Like, you had to make a decision. Do you want to just be an exciting fighter that puts on great shows and great knockouts? Because there were at times of my career where that was unthinkable to me. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to be that exciting guy that gets knockouts. Then you're like, oh man, I want a main event. And then you main event, you're like, oh, well, like what's next, you know? I'm kind of set the new goal as I accomplish it. That's the way that I've been kind of operating. Do you want to be a fun, exciting finisher, or do you want to be a title holder? Do you want to hold the belt? The belt just means you're the best. Do you just want to go to sleep one night holding that belt, just knowing that everyone has to shut up and that you're the best? And it's like, I definitely do. Justin Gagey's not that guy. Justin Gagey's not that guy. Justin Gagey doesn't get me to that guy. Justin Gagey just gets me a headache and a headache and some more money. Like, who cares? Arman Sarukian is the path to the title. That's the path to being the champ. That's the path to being the best guy.
There's a lot of fighters within the UFC that, you know, perhaps put on a facade about, you know, their character within the UFC. I feel like you've always held true to who you are. And I know you say, I like conflict, I like arguing, and I don't think people sometimes understand that this is you as a person, and where you are right now is off the back of you just being absolutely 100% unapologetically yourself.
Yeah, people can hate me for being me. Like, that's all right. I can live with that. It's like, you don't want to be like that Colby Covington or something like that, where they're just like, I don't know what it is. It's weird. Like, it's like they're scared that people won't like the real them. You know, I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for something that I'm not. You know, putting on a facade and pretending to be a guy that I'm not, and saying nice things, and you know what I mean? I'm not. That's not me. I'm a mean guy. Like, that's just, like, yeah. I'm like every human. There's some things that I do that are good, and there's some things that I do that are bad. I'm capable of a lot of different things. Like, I'm not a good guy, I'm not a bad guy. I'm a mix of both, but at least I am who I am, and I'm comfortable in my own skin.
And then how does that help incorporate with what you do in fighting? Because, you know, it kind of translates into the ring when we see you doing what you're doing unapologetically, 100% yourself again. The mental game,
For sure.
And that old school mentality that you talk about as well.
For sure, and that's something that I've had to, because obviously coming up as a fighter, you're like, you take little things of other fighters, more experienced fighters. You watch interviews on fighters that you like, and you try to just mimic other fighters, or like, oh man, I like the way that Anderson Silva does this before a fight, and then I'll mimic that and I'll emulate that, and you're just being like a little copycat. And I feel like I spent most of my career, because even like a young fighter watching me, it's like, bro, you can't copy what I do. That's me. That's my own thing. Like, everyone has to be their own person, and there's no lies out there. When you're tired, when you're so tired that getting punched in the face hurts less than lifting your arms up, when you feel like you're breathing fire, like, you can't lie. Your true character, like, shows up. So I feel like now I go out there as myself, as just unapologetically myself. And now that I've found my feet, like, I feel like I love it out there. It's easy for me I think that was the hard part for me, like coming up and early on, and why I made some mistakes is because I was trying to be someone I'm not, or trying to copycat someone else, and then I made a lot of mistakes doing that. And it's like when I go out there and I'm just myself, and it always felt too easy, so then I had to make it more difficult. But it is, like, to me, fighting is easy. I am who I am 7 days out of 7. I am who I am 24 hours a day. Like, and I love to fight. I'm like, I'm gonna make you tired. I'm always tired.
Tired right now, just sitting here?
I've been tired. Yeah, I'm tired right now. I'm like, you're gonna make me tired. Like, take me home, Baba. I've been doing this my entire adult life. I've been fighting professionally since I was 19 years old. I'm 35. You know what I mean? I've been tired the whole time. You can't, what are you gonna do? Make me tired? That's not gonna make me fight any less hard. Dan Hooker's tired is still Dan Hooker. It's a culmination of my whole career. Like, do I take back any of, man, I've done, and I can see why people doubt me as a contender. I wholeheartedly, completely understand that, because, bro, I've done some horrible, dumb things out there. Like, sometimes Dan Hooker shows up, and then sometimes this other idiot shows up with some...
You're like, oh.
Some other idiot shows up and just does the most horrible things. But I feel like I've learned a lot of lessons from doing that, and having a lot of trial and error, and trying things and finding my feet. And I stuck it out through the difficult times long enough to find my feet, and I feel like I have, and I am comfortable in my own skin. I wouldn't take back any of those lessons, because it wouldn't have culminated in the person that I am now, wholeheartedly, unapologetic kid from New Zealand that just loves to have a fight.
Was there a moment where you thought, okay, was there a moment where it kind of clicked in for you? Because your results have been showing it. You know, your last few fights have absolutely been showing it. Even in those fights I haven't. I feel like I fought like trash in those fights. You know what I mean? Why you gotta kick me in the head for me to remember, oh, that's right, I'm Dan Hooker, and then I just bash him? Why I gotta get 5 different cuts on my face?
Hey, you like me now, Baba?
Get exhausted, be losing 1.5 rounds of a fight before I go, that's right, I'm Dan Hooker. And that's it. So I feel like it's been a lot of difficult, tough tests throughout my career, and I've learned a lot of lessons, and I feel like I've really, like, everything's kind of coming together, the things I've been learning on the last few years. When we sat down for your 10-year anniversary, you spoke then. The one thing you haven't done yet is go and fight for that title. Oh, is that? And obviously a win here, Dana has said, guarantees you that opportunity. You know, how long in your mind and heart has it been, this has been the goal, and, you know, this is my opportunity to make that happen? Yeah, the physical title is like kind of for everyone else. Like, I know, and I know I'm capable of it. I know that I have the skills. So it's the title is more for anyone else. Like, I know. That's the funny thing about our sport, is like a huge contradiction, because from the outside and the promotion, like they pump the champion up as this unbeatable, unhuman, like they pump him up as like a superhero. You know, you'll now see Ilya Tapura, people, new fans to the UFC will think that he's like a superhero. But I've been around the sport for so long, and I know how hard it is, and I've spent my whole life in the gym like no one is. The only thing that fighting this long has taught me is how fragile the human body is, and how that everyone is human. That's everyone, like sitting at home, and young fighters even looking at the highlight reel. Me, I've had those ups and downs, so I guess I am a bit more upfront and honest about experiencing that. But it's like, I know we all bleed. I know we all get tired. I know that the percentage between like success and failure is so small. Like even like if you grab my neck from behind, put on a rear naked choke and squeeze, like, well, I'm human. Like, you'll be able to tap me out, like, that's it. If I stick my chin in the air and let you punch me on the chin, you can get me knocked out. You can knock me out, like, I can admit that. So if, like, you can do it to me, then I can do it to the champ. If you can do it to me, then I can do it to Ahmad Saruki. And in my mind, the gap is not physical, the gap is more mental, and that's something that I feel like is just, for me, is coming together in this last year, in this time off.
Finally, how much does this fight excite you, and how you're feeling ahead of this fight, what it does mean to you?
This fight excites me because they feel like he's a lot better than I am. That's why this fight excites me so much. So then it's like anything good that I do, he's gonna start to look like more of an idiot. He was supposed to be like this super freak athlete, title contender, the guy to beat Ilya. They're hiding the champion from him. This is like his story. And now he's losing to Dan Hooker, the bloke from New Zealand who's lost a third of his fights. Like, so it's like anything that I do starts to make him look more and more human. I feel like he's the one that has something to prove in this fight, and that is like that's a difficult spot for a fighter to be. I don't feel like I have to prove myself to everyone. I'm comfortable with who I am. I'm just excited. I'm excited to beat him. That's what excites me.
Well, kia ora for that kōrero, Dan.
I don't know what I said. I don't know what I can't remember what I said.
You said some really cool stuff.
Oh.
You said some really cool stuff. But whānau, this next pay-per-view, Jack Della Maddalena up against Islam Makhachev. Stay tuned to your guides for all the booking details. Of course, you can purchase that pay-per-view on Sky Arena and Sky Sport. Now going to be an absolute banger. And of course, the flyweight title, Shevchenko and Weili Zhang, will be the co-main event there. And then the next week will be Dan Hooker, Ahmad Saruki in Qatar. Remember, he will be there on a week, preparing there for a week, no longer than that, and then we'll be able to have a chat with you while you're there.
Bender time.
Then Bender time.
Can you say that? And then you won't see me for a month.
Yeah, and then we'll see you in 2026.
Yeah, I'll be on Christmas holidays early, my boy.
Well deserved. And whānau, we're not going on Christmas holidays yet though, and we will see you here next week. Kei kōna mai.